What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Optimized Ecommerce Podcast. I'm Tanner Larsson, and today we are joined by one of our Build, Grow, Scale team members, one of our revenue optimization experts. He's a repeat guest, Mr. Daniel Escobar. And Daniel is going to be, wowing us with his knowledge again, of course. But, Daniel, again, just so if you don't remember him from previous episodes, he's been with the team for a few years now, and he works on some of our biggest amplified partner stores. Where he is actually the revenue optimization expert that's in the trenches every day, figuring out different things to test, improve, tweak, optimize, fix on these stores. Now, the crazy thing is that these stores have been with us for a while. They're highly optimized, but yet Daniel is able to continually find new and bigger wins all the time. Now, not every win is a huge win, but we do find quite a lot of wins. And one of the ways that Daniel is really good at, and it's a lot of our other ROs as well, because it's a standard practice across all our stores. But one of the things that he excels at is leveraging information from the customer to then improve the sales process on the front end for new customers and repeat customers. So today we're going to talk about how you can leverage your thank you page correctly to collect customer information without pissing them off in a way that allows you to collect good information, provides value to them, and really allows you to really get nitty gritty on what your actual customers have to say about your order and buying process. So Daniel, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Tanner.
Yeah. So you're back home now, right?
Yeah, I'm in Colombia.
In Colombia, yeah. And then you just came back to the US for a little bit. You got to go to an emotional intelligence class and then hung out with Matt in LA for a while, right?
Yeah, I stayed there for around 10 days. It was great. It was great visiting Matt.
Yep. And then got to go to Vegas, see Jimmy and some of the other team, and then go back home, right?
And then I flew back home. Yeah, it was great. It was great. Vegas was a bit more fun than California. Everything was a bit more open. I could, go into a restaurant and sit and eat, but it was great overall. It was a great experience. Yeah.
Good deal. Awesome. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and jump into this? So we're basically talking about how to ask questions on the thank you page in a specific way to your customers after they've completed their purchase in order to, collect the data that we want and really make some stuff. So why don't we start with the first thing, which is, why? Why should you be asking your customers these questions? And we'll to get to what the questions are, but why is it important to ask them questions?
Right. It's very important because, first of all, you've got blind spots. You think you know it all, but if you really think you know it all and you change nothing, then you're never going to get better results, right? Mm-hmm. You've got blind spots. The truth is, you've got blind spots. There's things you don't know that are not working. And by asking them questions, you're able to get a perspective from someone else, right? Mm-hmm. Because you browse your website every single day. You've seen it 1,000 times. So when you try to think about, hey, what's missing? What might be wrong? If you could find it so easily, you would have fixed it by now.
Already fixed it, right?
Exactly, but you're missing it because you're so used to your website, right? So asking your actual customers questions is a great way to have an outside perspective and new feedback on your website.
And it's similar to user testing, which we've talked about in other videos, except for the fact that user testing are not actual customers that chose your store on their own. So you get a little bit of a different perspective from your actual customers than from user testing people, right?
Exactly. User testing is more about the functionality. You're really seeing if people can go through the process, if they have any, walls or any obstacles to get through the process to the product page, then add to cart and checkout, right? The difference is the people, most of the times, the user testers are not your actual demographic. Mm-hmm. You just got them somewhere, maybe on a website, or maybe they're friends of yours, and you ask them, hey, please go through this process with me. Let me check the website through your eyes. But in this case, when you're asking questions to your real customers, then they are, the real deal. They're buying from you. they have that motivation, and they're spending the real money with you. So it's different, but it's very, very important.
So what kind of questions should you be asking your customers on the thank you page?
I like to ask kind of two types of questions. Basically, you have multiple ways to improve the conversion rate of a store and the revenue overall. One of it is to reduce the friction, right? And by friction, I mean people may have fears or questions or doubts. We call that thoughts, right? At BGS. So It stands for fears, uncertainty, and doubt. So you want to find those out and fix it, right? So you want to ask questions that undercover those. So basically that undercover the friction, the reasons why they are not buying. That's one kind of question I like to ask. And the other one is, hey, why did you buy from me? So that it's kind of the complete opposite. And that one's it's like they already bought from you. Why would you want to know that? And the answer is it's quite funny, because sometimes you don't know what your value proposition is, or your customers know better than you what your value proposition is.
Or maybe you have a value proposition that's not actually in alignment with what your customer is saying, and you can find a better one.
Exactly. So you can trick it and improve it that way. So those are the two main kind of questions I like to ask. So for example, if you wanted to ask, to figure out what the fears or doubts of the customers were, you can just ask them, hey, what was your biggest fear when buying from us? Or did you have any questions in the process, right? And that's something you can ask, and you'll get super good data on it, super valuable data. And then for the other type of questions, you can just literally ask, hey, why did you pick us over the competition? And just let them answer in their own words.
And another one that we've used on that first set is why did you almost not buy from us? We've used that question before a lot as well. And it's like, obviously they bought, but now you're asking like, hey, what made you hesitate? What made you almost not make the purchase? Obviously you did, but what made you almost not? Sometimes asking that question, you get blown away like, oh, well, you didn't have this information, but I took a chance, or I didn't trust your reviews, or, something along those lines that you're like, whoa, okay, well, now I can go in and address that. So it's not about asking lots of questions, right? It's just smart questions.
And to that point, that one is super good, because you're asking, what was that thing that almost stopped you from buying? And you're asking it at the perfect moment, because they just bought and they're on the thank you page. They bought seconds ago. Sometimes companies send out these surveys 10 days later, 20 days later, asking, hey, how was your experience? Well, chances are 10 or 20 days later, the quality of that feedback is going to be much lower, because people forget. They buy something, they get the product, and in 10 days, they'll tell you a lot about the product, right? Because they have it, they've been using it, but they won't be able to tell you much about the buying process on your website.
So, okay, we got the questions. So what's the best format and way to basically ask these questions on the thank you page? Because we obviously don't want to irritate the customer, and we want to collect the data. So what's the best way to do that?
Exactly. We like to be very, very subtle. So just ask one question. We just like to ask one question. It's like a poll. It's a poll on the thank you page. So it's this small square that pops up on the lower part of your screen that asks a question, right? So it's like a short question, 1 or 2 lines. Why did you buy from us? 1 line, and then 1 box that has space for the comments. I would advise you, a recommendation would be, most of these questions you want them to be open answer, so people can actually type their answer. Don't give them options. Don't give them options. They'll put them in a box and they won't be able to express what they're feeling. So let them write whatever they want to write. An open-ended question. Hey, why did you buy from us? Or why what almost stopped you from buying from us, and then just have a box for the answer. We've had we've used a couple tools. Lucky Orange is one of them. It's very, very easy to set up a poll on Lucky Orange. It takes probably 5 minutes.
All right, so that's cool. So now let's move into the next thing, and let's just I want to pick your brain a little bit in terms of, I know we've got some weird ones over the time, but what are some of the unexpected or interesting answers you've gotten to questions that you've asked in the past? Like, I'm sure some of them have been real valuable, some of them have been out there, but let's talk about some actual examples.
Yeah, so some unexpected answers we've gotten is sometimes people will tell you exactly why you're better than the competition. When you ask them, hey, why did you buy from us? They'll tell you, hey, I didn't buy from the other guy, and they'll mention the brand because X, Y, Z. For example, we used to have a cleaning company. They used to produce cleaning products, and when we asked them, hey, why did you buy from us instead of the other guys? They said it's because you had all the ingredients listed. And we didn't know that was a strong value proposition. We just had them listed just because. And when we started showing, that trend that people really valued the ingredients, then we gave them, an important part on the product page to the ingredients, and that helped us with the conversion rate. That was a nice lift there. So that was an unexpected answer. And then on another company we work with, we actually found out that people were buying specifically because a YouTube video. We didn't know about it. So it was this belt, and it was so strong that this guy on the video could lift an entire trunk, an entire truck with the belt, only using the belt. So it was like a real truck, and he was just using the belt to lift the truck. That's how strong the belt was. And we didn't know that many people was buying because of that video. So we took that video and we made it part of the website. And that also gave us a great win in terms of conversion rate.
Awesome. Very cool. Cool. All right. So we've used Lucky Orange, things like that. But, I think you mentioned that it only takes a few minutes. But why don't you talk a little bit about how not hard it is to set up a poll and kind of the right ways to set one up?
So these platforms are usually very user-friendly. They will basically tell you, hey, this is you want to create a poll. Okay, let's do this. First, figure out what the question is, figure out how they want to answer it, right? So do you want them to give them options, or maybe just, open-ended question? So you only need the question, kind of figure out how do you want to gather the responses, then make it match your website, because it's like this box. So you want it to match like the general feeling of your website. So for example, if your logo is red, then chances are you want your poll to be red as well. So it matches the feeling of the website. Then the last thing is you need to figure out how to, what's going to be the trigger to show that poll. Because you can also show polls on the home page, on the collection page, on the product page, on the cart page. Depends what you're looking for. But in this case, you only want to show it on the thank you page for this purpose, right? And the way you can set that up is it changes from platform to platform. But for example, in Shopify, all the thank you pages have a similar structure on the URL. And you can set up the poll to only trigger if there is, for example, thank you in the URL. And there are many ways to set it up that way. There are many ways to set it up, but that's one way that has worked very well for us. It'll take you literally 5 minutes to set it up. It's that easy.
Awesome. So going off on that though, a little bit, talk a little bit about how long you run one of these tests or these polls for, because I know we don't leave them on all the time, and there's some logic behind that.
Yeah. So you want to run it for, it depends on how many orders you're getting.
Correct.
But you want to run it for, let's say until you have at least 100 responses or so. Of course, if you're only going to get 20, then that's better than nothing. But when you have a good amount of responses, then you can start seeing the trends in the responses, right?
Yep.
So we usually just leave them on for 2 weeks. And then we change the question we ask, because we will start just getting the same answer over and over again. And if you don't take action on the feedback you're getting, and you just have the poll there just to collect feedback and you don't act on it, then it's not really useful. So probably 2 weeks is a good, number if you have a decent amount of transactions a day. And then you can tweak the question to find out different kind of improvement opportunities.
And now we typically are running one question at a time versus putting 2 questions at a time or 3 questions at a time, right?
Yeah, because it increases a lot the response rate. Like we found out that if we have 2 or 3, people won't answer, and people will get pissed off because they just bought from you, and you're, right away just hammering them with multiple questions. If it's only one, people don't mind answering, and they'll be super honest with the feedback, and they'll take the time to give you the feedback. Yep. If it goes to 2 or 3 or 4 questions, then the quality in the responses of the second, third, and fourth question, it just goes down. So if you wanna ask many questions, just first ask one question for a couple of weeks. If you want to change it, then in a couple of weeks, just change the question to get different feedback. But don't ask more than one question, especially not on the thank you page.
Makes sense. And then, guys, that also keeps it consistent. But the other thing is I just want to clarify, and we talked about it briefly, but I want to make it a point. If you're running a survey on your thank you page for your customers or a poll, you don't also want to be running a poll in your cart or on your product page or on your home page. We do them one at a time. You're not trying to disrupt your store's ability to earn and its performance, and having too many polls on there it just actually degrades the customer experience and they don't like it. So, if you want to run one on your product page to ask a specific question there, that's cool. Turn off your thank you one, your thank you page one for a little bit, and just run one at a time. And then make sure you're taking those answers out, exporting them into a spreadsheet, and kind of matching them up to see where the commonalities lie.
Exactly. We have a great article on that in our blog.
Yep.
It explains how to classify those answers and to get the most out of it. It'll basically walk you through, step by step, how to organize that data, how to find the patterns, how to implement the insights you find from there, how to find solutions for it, how to make sure you actually fix the issue you're facing. That article is great. I highly recommend you go and read it.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys can get that at buildgrowscale.com/blog. And then you can just use the search bar on the top to search for the thank you page polls and things like that. And it'll pull up. We've got multiple articles on topics like that, but the one Daniel's specifically referring to will come right up in the search results. And that'll be very beneficial to kind of match what he's talking about here with how do you leverage that data. So one last question for you, buddy. What's the biggest win that you've ever had from using thank you page polls? What's the most just awesome thing you guys have figured out?
The biggest win we've had is it was this body armor store, and we were asking people exactly what the question you said earlier. What was the one thing that almost stopped you from buying? And we found out that probably 60 or 50% of the people said it is because I am not sure what's my size. And I don't want to mess it up. I don't know if it's easy to return, but it's basically, I'm not sure which size to get. There are so many sizes. If you've ever bought body armor, you know that there's probably 20 different sizes to pick from. And the fit is very important, because if you buy the wrong one, then it won't protect you
correctly.
Like it needs to be the perfect fit. Otherwise, it won't protect you against a bullet. So people were mentioning that a lot. So again, we had those answers on the poll, on the thank you page poll. We organized them. We found that around 50% of people, that was their biggest obstacle for buying.
This is an obstacle they had, even though you guys already had a sizing guide on the website, right? Like it wasn't like you weren't providing the information, but they were still having trouble with it, right?
Exactly. We had a simple, fit chart that it said, if you weigh this much and you're this tall, then this is the size you should get. But people were still concerned about it. So we found this trend. We said, okay, almost 50% of the people that answer had this problem or this concern. What can we do to improve it? How can we give them ease of mind so they know they can buy from us without any fear and that their vest will fit? So we went to the drawing board and we said, hey, let's make something super simple. Let's make a fit finder where they just, select how tall they are and how much they weigh, and they click on find my size, and I'll give them a size, right? And then, so for example, I'm this tall, I weigh this much, you should get an extra large. But not only that, right below the size suggestion, we had an icon that said free exchanges for 30 days. We pay for shipping, you don't have to pay for anything. So we made the process super easy. We kind of reinforced the fact that, hey, this is the size we suggest, but even if it doesn't fit, we'll take it back for free and we'll ship you another one that fits you. And that gave us, I don't remember the numbers right now, but it's been one of my biggest wins as an RO.
That's awesome. And yeah, it's a perfect example of how the thank you page works. Like, this is a store, guys, that is optimized and was optimized, and everything from a store perspective, from an optimization perspective, was there. Like we addressed the sizing issue, we addressed this, we addressed that, and still we thought it was solved. And then when we asked the customer, they were still having an issue. So this is a perfect example of how Daniel said, you just don't know what the customer's going to say, that you have a blinder about. You're like, oh, of course the sizing guys is there. How can they be having problems? But then I know we have another product where size is really important in a pet supplement or pet store, and they have this sizing information in like 5 different ways on the page. And every time they've added more variations on the sizing organization, they got a lift. So great example, dude. Really good example.
Yeah. We'll find that to be the case on most apparel stores. They have the the fit finder somewhere, but each time you add an extra one, you usually get wins. So that's very, very interesting.
Well, awesome, bro. Well, thank you so much for this today. I wanted to keep this episode a little shorter because some of our other ones have been getting longer, but this was great. This was very actionable, good stuff. Thank you so much, guys. Right now, if you want to go check the blog out, buildgrowscale.com/blog, you can get the link to the article there. Just use the search bar and it'll pull it right up for you. Also, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast. It's a YouTube podcast and an iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, all that audio podcast. So go to buildgrowscale.com/podcast to get all the links, including the show notes. We do a show note after every show with links and other stuff you can get right there on the page. And then also links to all the platforms where this is. And if you like what you're hearing, you like it a lot, leave us a review or a comment. Let us know what you think. And with that, guys, we will see you in the next episode.